Another regional down and yet another exciting finish to close it out. Hi, everybody. Welcome back inside the CrossFit Games Update Show studios. I'm Sean Woodland with Tommy Marquez and Pat Sherwood. The East Regional wrapping up. And once again, that event 7, and we're going to say this quite a bit, do not miss that. If that's the only one you watch, that's the one you're going to want to see.
It hasn't disappointed yet, and we get to see the leader this time just, strolling across the finish line seems to be the new thing to do. But congrats to men, women, and teams from the East. Another awesome performance.
I mean, we're seeing some of these athletes fighting for their life on that final event, just ripping through the barbells. There's just kind of mayhem on the floor. It's really exciting.
We're going to recap East here in a second, but first, one final look at what went down in the Pacific Regional in Australia on the men's side. Here are the 5 men heading to Carson. Con Porter takes first place. He beats out Rob Forte on the last event. Chad McKay was in trouble early but worked his way back up the leaderboard. He finds himself in third. Kevin Manuel, the first man from New Zealand to represent his country at the CrossFit Games, and Ben Gerard needed a record-breaking performance in event number 7 to get himself into the CrossFit Games. Rob Forte was in the lead the entire time. He had a spot locked up heading into event 7. He finishes second. Is he still the man to beat there?
I'd have to say so. Going into the weekend, I didn't think that Con Porter was going to win the whole thing. I thought he'd qualify, so hats off to him. Extremely impressive. But Rob Forte is a 4-times Games veteran. That still counts for something these days. I mean, that's an incredible career. He's going back for time number 5. He's an incredibly well-rounded athlete. Yes, and, you never know. I wasn't there. I didn't get to ask him personally. But on that final event, event 7, he had a very casual pace, walking from one barbell to another. I don't know if he's like, hey, I know I'm going, don't want to tweak my trap or something. He didn't look like the same man that competed all weekend long, so I don't think you should judge his fire by that final event.
And Ben Gerard, speaking of fire, goes out for an event record in event 7. And if not for a hiccup in event 1, he might be standing atop the leaderboard.
Yeah, and that hiccup was he was finishing up Randy, and he got to what he thought was his last rep. He jumped over the bar. He heard the good signal for the rep and took off running to the mat, had to come back. It cost him 24 spots on the leaderboard for that workout and roughly 57 points. So he could very well have been 1 or 2 in this region. And I think he's got what it takes, primarily because of that killer instinct that we saw in that final workout. Coming back from adversity, battling back from 29th place in day number 1, 12th after day 2, 10th heading into that final workout. And I think when you're able to overcome that level of adversity, it kind of sets you up well to being at the games when you don't know what's coming at you.
And finally, Chad McKay, who at one point looked like his chances were on serious life support, he's coming back to Carson.
Chad McKay showing why he's a veteran, did some serious just mentally staying in the fight over the course of the entire weekend. The big man, over 6 feet, 215 pounds. At the end of day 1, things looked a little grim. He was in 14th. By the end of day 2, he'd done a lot of work, moved into 4th, and he finished the whole thing in 3rd place. What really impressed me was those strict deficit handstand push-ups for just a colossal human being. For him to take 11th on that event with so many smaller, lighter guys getting time capped, and for him to cross the finish line, he's obviously put in the work he needs to and shored up some areas of weakness.
Brandon Swan is not returning to the CrossFit Games, and he just looked like he struggled all weekend long and could never really find his groove.
Yeah, he didn't really look like himself. He came out and had kind of a surprising finish, and Randy looked to be out of it after day number 1, had a great comeback in day number 2, but then going into the event number 6 to start off day number 3, we knew it was going to be tough, primarily because he had the last place finish in push-pull with those handstand push-ups. But here's what really surprised me in that final event. I did not expect to see him finish that way.
And let's keep this in perspective, right? 3-times Games veteran, has a bad year. The regionals changed a little bit this year. He's 23 years young. He's got a tremendous amount of good years ahead of him. I've got no doubt he's going to go back, like we've seen a couple other athletes do this year, dig in, figure out what went wrong, come back next year even better.
On the women's side, it was Cara Webb who led wire to wire and in dominant fashion. She won 4 of the 7 events. 2 veterans, 3 rookies coming to Carson, California for the 2015 Reebok CrossFit Games. The rookies, Alethea Boone, Tia Claire Toomey, and Sammy Wood, who was on the outside looking in day 3, but got herself into contention and finally into that 5th place position. And Danae Brown, the other veteran, joining Cara Webb, as the 5 of them will make their way to the CrossFit Games. But Cara Webb was a name that at the very beginning of the season we put in that could stand on the top of the podium at Carson category. Judging by this performance, she's definitely still there.
I think she's still in that category, but needs a little bit of polishing, okay? And she's got a sharp coach, so that will happen. But if you want to be in contention for the fittest woman in the entire world, the only thing which would make me nervous looking backwards was event 4, the handstand walk, taking 11th. We knew that was something that she struggled with last year, and so to see that it was still her worst event, probably not a coincidence. But other than that, everything was a top 5 finish. Everything that she did, led at the end of every single solitary day, was never in danger no matter what, looked like she was having fun, so she's certainly in the conversation. Cara Webb is good to go. She's back.
I believe last year after the competition, she had a bag of M&Ms that she'd been saving for after the competition. She upped her food game this year, posted this on Instagram. Cara Webb's going to be going after some serious donuts. See you bad boys on Monday. So before she gets back to training, she's going to plow through 6 what look like extremely delicious donuts. I think we should just take a couple seconds and contemplate how good
amazing.
that was.
Amazing.
I could go for one of those right now. Now for our next edition of Who the Heck is This Person? Alethea Boone, not a name we even was on our radar coming into this, and now she's going to the CrossFit Games.
Yeah, and we kind of went back and did some research on her, and it shouldn't be surprising that she's done this well transitioning into the individual side. She competed at the Games last year on CrossFit Active's 6th place affiliate cup team, and she comes in here, makes a wonderful transition, qualifying for CrossFit Games in her first year as an individual. She is second behind Cara Webb, one of those podium contenders. 6 of the 7 workouts were in the top 10. 5 of those were top 5 finishes. I was supremely impressed with this individual. The only thing that kind of stands out as a red flag, she's 17th in the snatch, but I think she'll shore that up.
Finally, on the team side of things, it was Schwartz's CrossFit Melbourne that pretty much dominated this competition. They were towards the top, if not at the top of the leaderboard for the majority of the competition. Zach's Pax East Tamaki will finish second. CrossFit Rocks is there as well. CrossFit Athletic and CrossFit Active rounding out the top 5. Congratulations to all those teams as you make your way to Southern California for the CrossFit Games. To the East Regional now. Men's competition and the women's competition are both in the books. Let's start with the men. We saw that happen earlier with a great finish in Event 7. The 5 guys who were going, Matt Fraser, no shock there. Alex Vigneault, who stood atop the leaderboard for quite some time at this competition, will finish second. Daniel Tominski, big day for him. He started the day in 8th. He moves up into 3rd. And then a couple of old school names right there, Spencer Hendel and Austin Malialo fighting their way into the top 5 on the final day. But Alex Vigneault now heading to the CrossFit Games for the first time.
It has been a battle all weekend, and coming out with a number 2 spot, an excellent rank. I mean, what's going through your mind right now?
Yes, I finished third last year in Canada East, tied with Paul Tremblay, and this year I gave all I had, and I'm looking forward for the game.
Yeah. Tell me about your training. What did you do to get ready for this year?
I will take 2-3 days off, and after I will get training with my buddies at the CrossFit Quebec City and train hard, just train hard.
Looking forward, are you just going to keep your same pattern, or are you going to do anything differently coming up to the Games here?
Try something different because the game is a lot more unknown and unknowable, so I'll practice that.
Well, congratulations, Alex. You did wonderfully all weekend. We really enjoyed watching you.
Alex Vigneault headed to the CrossFit Games for the first time, but the man who is on top of the leaderboard is Matt Fraser. He's another guy like Cara Webb who was put in that could stand on top of the podium at the CrossFit Games. After what you saw from him over the past 3 days, is he still in that category?
Is Fraser still in that category?
That's a dumb question, but I want to see why.
Beyond a shadow of a doubt, I mean, okay, just so he didn't lead initially, what impressed me the most about him was the event records that he set. I expected him to actually win the snatch. He didn't. That shocked me. But then, event number 3, the grueling chipper, that's what I didn't expect him to win. He says the fastest time in the entire world. And then, the other workout that does not have a barbell, event number 6, well, he sets a world record there as well. So, where I thought he would shine, he did incredible, but then where I thought he'd do okay, he set records. So, I mean, Matt Fraser just continues to impress.
Yeah, the guy who continues to attack his weaknesses as well. Meanwhile, in some of these other regions, we've seen a lot of new names. A lot of kind of a changing of the guard. Didn't quite happen in the East. We have some, some of the OGs going back to the game.
Yeah, kind of like the old guard of the Northeast coming back to the Games finally. And we're talking about Austin Maliolo, Daniel Tominski, and Spencer Hendel. And between the 3 of them, they have 11 appearances at the CrossFit Games. Now, last year was kind of weird because none of them went to the games out of this region after all three finished 1, 2, 3 in 2012. But I think they all just showed that kind of experience from the veterans that we're used to seeing. There was a lot of shifting back and forth throughout the leaderboard, but all three of them came up big on day number 3, finishing within the top 10 in that final workout. And now they're all going to go back to Carson. Kind of like that old comfy chair at your parents' house. You know, you like to sit back in every once in a while. We get to see them finally back at the games and kind of enjoy that.
Let's head over to the women's side of things. We just saw that wrap up, and it's Michelle Latondra who will be on top of the leaderboard as she leads the women of the East Regional to the CrossFit Games. Danny Horan, another veteran. The two of them, Latondra and Horan, had spots locked up heading into the 7th and final event. Carrie Pierce, a new name. She sits in 3rd place. Caroline Reason-Tebow, she finishes 4th. And Kelly Jackson, who was at the games last year, she returns this year as well. But Carrie Pierce, the rookie, turned a lot of heads at the East Regional.
Carrie, a big 3rd place win after a long weekend here. You were systematic going into these workouts. You had a system in place. Tell us about it.
Yes, for every workout, I knew how I had to break it up. I knew what kind of rest I needed. So that was a game plan, and I stuck to it for the whole time, and it obviously paid off.
Surprisingly, you may be one of the only athletes out here that was looking forward to those deficit handstand push-ups, and you pulled ahead in that workout. Is gymnastics a strong suit for you?
Yes, gymnastics is a huge strong suit. I was a collegiate gymnast for the University of Michigan. Finished a couple years back, and that was a very strong background for any kind of handstand work, pull-up work, things like that. So,
Carson, coming up, the games are coming up. How will you continue to train?
I'll keep focusing on my gymnastics because I know that's a strength for me, and I know I can pull ahead in those kind of workouts. I also know that I need a little bit more technique in my Olympic weightlifting, especially like the snatches and clean and jerks.
We probably all do. Congratulations on a big
Thank you
3rd
very
place.
much.
We look forward to seeing you at the games.
Thank you.
Hey, Carrie, how long have you been CrossFitting? Just so we know.
Since November.
Since November. Brand new. How did you fall into this so well?
The gymnastics background, and I competed in powerlifting competition back in November, so that built up my basic strength. And I started coaching at a CrossFit box in October, so I was doing the powerlifting training until November, and then picked up on CrossFit after that.
And what was it about CrossFit that made you want to pursue it more so quickly?
People, ever since I graduated college, people were trying to get me into CrossFit, get into CrossFit. I was like, no, I'm over gymnastics. I want to do Olympic weightlifting, powerlifting. I did a little bit of bodybuilding, so I've done a little bit of everything. And then finally I was just like, I need to do it, and I'm kicking myself in the butt for not starting sooner. But it's a lot of fun, and I really enjoy the training. I never get bored of it, so I love it.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
She's been doing this since November. I now
What?
officially quit. And so, yeah, I'm done. November.
I'm
she's in
coming
the
up
games.
on 10 years, and I'm not regional, so I think
what is the deal there?
I think she's going to have a
Goodness.
wonderful career ahead of her.
Yeah.
We're going to learn a lot about her at the CrossFit Games, but a woman we do know a lot about, Michelle Latondra, once again asserting her dominance and showing that she's a contender for the podium as well.
And again, start to finish, looking cool, calm, and collected on day 1, 2, and 3. Your overall winner. She's been to the games 4 times, showing why. Now, remember, in our previous regional formats, she's used to competing up there in Canada East with the champ, Camila Blanc-Basnet, for one of only 2 spots, not 5, just 2. So she's used to high-pressure situations. And Danny Horan, 2 times games vet, taken second out of that region to Michelle Latondra. Danny's going to have a phenomenal year at the games.
And then we have Caroline Reason-Tebow, another first-timer going to the games. She showed up on our radar during the Open, and now we're really going to see what she's made of.
Yeah, she didn't just show up on the radar. She was 6th worldwide in the CrossFit Games Open after all was said and done. And then she comes into this weekend. There was a little bit of a question mark on whether or not she'd be able to hold on in the final day. And just like a boss, throws down a 5th in event 6 and then a 4th in event 7, just shuts the door on anyone trying to take a spot from her. And really, she continues a stat that we've seen in prior years where there's a games rookie that shows up in the top 10 of the Open. They go on to qualify for that first time, showing that, the Open really is a test that can predict this a little bit.
Let's head over to the teams and show you the 5 who will be representing the East Regional at the CrossFit Games. It was a good battle at the top of the leaderboard all weekend long, but Pro 1 Montreal edging out CrossFit Milford. CrossFit New England, they're going back again. Fraternity, we talked a lot about them this weekend. They're in the games. And then CrossFit Plateau number 2. They are going to Carson, California. Congratulations to all the teams. Let's get you caught up on what's going on out in California. The men out there just finished event 6, and that's the women's leaderboard from the East, but we'll give you the standings right now for the men. Dan Bailey continues to lead. He's pretty much wrapped up a spot at the CrossFit Games. Neil Maddox, he sits in 2nd place. He's ahead of John Parra by 21 points. Chad Melton who had a great performance in Event 6, launches himself into the top 5. And Josh Bridges had a great battle in that 6th event with both Melton and Bailey. Bridges now 9 points up on Julian Alcaraz. I'm really going to get that name right one time, I promise. 9 points up on him. So Josh Bridges currently occupying that 5th spot. But now we head into Event 7 out there, and Bridges is going to have some work to do.
I'll tell you what, regardless of what's happened the entire weekend, if you want to see one of the best shows in town, watch Josh Bridges on event number 7. Literally, his trip to Carson is going to be make it or break it on how hard he performs, and he's one of the most fiery competitors out there. Yeah. He's going to leave nothing on the field.
And a lot of people think that this heavy barbell is going to pose a problem for him. They don't realize that in the open, on the open workout, after all of those toes to bar, all the snatches and deadlifts, he's still clean and jerk 315 pounds. And I know he's got 315 for a double at least on the clean and jerk, so don't be surprised if he smashes this workout.
We will bring you any updates on that one if you want to flip over to the California Regional and watch that go on. That's going to do it for us in the East Regional. For Pat Sherwood and Tommy Marquez, I'm Sean Woodland. Stick around, watch some California coverage, then come back next week. 3 more regionals, Meridian, West, and Central.